'cause I'm always full, but I know they want me to stay sort of full so I don't get these epidemics. I mean, what do you call them, Sean?
Pandemic.
No, I don't think it's pandemics. So I don't get frustrated.
But you're opposed to late night eating and stress eating.
Absolutely, late night eating, there's a point to that, too. Late night eating sometimes can be good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
If you are just slightly hungry, please just eat a little. If you're very hungry, well, that's another story, which I'm not speaking about at this time because I'm talking about late night eating.
What are some healthy foods that someone could eat if they did want to have something to eat late in the evening?
Oh, yeah. I've always talked about this many times. Late night eating is good when you need it. When you don't need it, maybe it's not so good. I have eating some pretty good amounts of food at night, and I go to bed, and boy, the dreams I haven't had, I tell you. So I always stress, try and eat your evening meal, and then if you're a little hungry, please do eat a little something then before you go to bed. And I want to stress a little something. You don't have to eat a big meal, just something like maybe an orange or an apple, or a cookie or a piece of cake, just a little something to tide you over, you know. So, please, dear friends, don't overdo it one way or another, because I've really been sorry sometimes in my life for eating too much or too little. When you go to bed on a real full stomach and feel stuffed, you could have some dreams you wouldn't believe of. And if you go to bed starved to death, wow, that's even worse. The dreams you wouldn't believe you would ever dream. So, too much or too little isn't good. Try and strike more the medium of eating in the evening. And if you feel too down and out, you might take a cookie or a piece of cake, piece of cheese, piece of fruit, piece of orange, piece of apple, something of that type.
Is there, let me ask you this, to avoid, because I know you mentioned a little bit about some of the pitfalls of late night eating, and you talked about having bad dreams from eating late at night. Tying that back to dinner, is there any type of meal that you would recommend for someone to have for dinner prior to going to bed that would help them to fall asleep and get a good night of sleep?
Yes.
And avoid late night eating?
Yes. There are all types of foods, and we need to pick out which sort of foods we would like to eat also when we go to bed at night. If we pick up something that sounds good to us, it would be much better than picking something that is hard to digest, or something that would be heavy to lay on
Oh,
your stomach
okay.
and get nightmares over.
Okay. So
The dreams I haven't had from this, I tell you. Okay, you can proceed.
so basically you were saying to avoid heavy food. So
Yeah.
foods high in fat, foods that are maybe low in fiber, high fat foods,
Yeah.
rich foods.
Oh, yeah.
Is that what I hear you saying?
Yeah, oh, yes.
Are there any examples of that you can think of?
Yes. One food, and I'm guilty of this myself, one food that I have eaten would be like strawberry shortcake. I think the shortcake is sort of rich. The cream on it is rich.
Yep.
And of course, the cherry's rich. That, you know, I wouldn't suggest, I suggest you eat that maybe after your main meal in the afternoon.
Lunchtime. So if you're going to have a dessert, have it at lunchtime. But for dinner, have something that isn't as rich. Now, what would an example be of a food that's not as rich that you could have maybe as a dessert after a lighter dinner? Because I'm hearing you say having a lighter dinner would be the best thing you could have to get a good night of sleep.
Yeah. Well, fruit, for example, peaches, pears, anything of that sort
Okay.
is good. Cookies, piece of cake, with milk maybe. Just whatever you like. That and through the years we've eaten foods. Through the years we've eaten foods that's given us a little boost. You might, for instance, decide upon a sweet cookie or cake that you've eaten from your childhood on up, and that you still like, and that nourishes you. I see Kevin over